What's up, everybody? Welcome to the CanesInSight Daily Podcast powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Happy Monday. Camp is over. It was a very successful camp. A lot of happy faces in the heck, but not satisfied faces, that's for sure, because there's a lot of work to be done before Notre Dame. But so far, so good. Very successful camp. We will be doing position breakdowns basically post-camp. So where do we stand at all these positions before Notre Dame week, after camp, and just kind of what we're looking at heading into that game. So three big ones today: quarterback, running back, and wide receiver. We'll keep this going throughout the week. Appreciate everybody in the chat. I'll give you a breakdown right here of some of the top accident attorneys in the country. That is Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. If you or someone you care about has been injured in an accident, you could be entitled significant compensation. Dial 1-800-747-FREE, 1-800-747-3733. Take back control of your life with Anajar and Levine. Pete, hop in.
D, good morning. We're getting asked the tough questions early here from Trey Moore, asking if we've gotten the YouTube premium yet, and then asking if everyone's healthy as of yesterday. so really the two questions everyone wants to know. I'll let you take the YouTube one. I'll stay on the health, guys, because obviously it's a question we get asked a lot, and we aren't always direct when answering the questions about it. But I'll say this: at this point of camp, through a couple tough weeks here, I would say you're about as healthy as you could be, man. I'm sure. Listen, there's some guys who are banged up, nicked up, but nothing catastrophic from what I understand here. And look, this is without giving too much away, obviously, D. But I think, like you said, people are happy in the heck right now because you still have a couple weeks of practice here leading up to the game. But the hard part here in terms of getting through this really physical nature of practice, I think they're feeling pretty good about where they are.
No doubt. And I'll echo what you said. And look, I'll add this. Nobody's healthy in terms of like in the country. You know what I mean? So people are banged up. That's just the nature of the deal. But if you're talking about like where Miami stands relative to where we've been in the past coming out of camp or where other teams typically are, I think Miami is feeling very, very good. I'm feeling very, very good about where we're at. So that's basically what we'll say.
So what about the YouTube Premium? You
YouTube Premium is on the to-do list. I got to get that done. Now we're not going to practice, every day doing 3 shows just on camp, although we'll be still putting
We'll have it done before the next announcement. How about that?
Yeah, we'll get that thing done. Exactly. There were no more commercials during live streams. I promise you that one. A lot of people in the chat, man. Good morning to everybody. People are fired up on this Monday, man. You could tell it's getting closer to game week. We got this week, and then next week is game week, I guess. I mean, Sunday is the game, but next week is pretty much game week.
Yeah, and you're starting to really get into that game plan. The last week plus of camp there, that in terms of the media viewing, that was really cut out. So they're getting into the nitty-gritty. They're getting into more of the realistic rotations in terms of snap counts, and those reps are kind of going to be mirrored more so for what you expect to see game one. So yeah, man, exciting times here, but let's just get right into the quarterback position, right? Because that was the biggest question in January before you had your guy in Carson Beck, and that was still such a big question through the spring because we didn't see him. He was not out there, still recovering from his injury, but it seems like those questions were answered really quickly when we saw him practice number 1, D.
No doubt. The health stuff, I'm not worried about. The player, I feel very, very confident in. I think what you're seeing with him is the ability to bounce back, resilience, because it's a long camp. So there are going to be days where you're inaccurate or things don't go your way. And we saw with Cam Ward last year. I mean, the same thing would happen with Cam, where there were days where you said, oh, man. In fact, especially this time last year, he had some rough practices leading up to, not so much leading up to UF, but more beginning camp. And Cam did last year, this time, August. So with Beck, what you love is if he has a rough practice, I mean, he comes back dealing. And the talent, the intellect, the ability to pull the trigger and just control a team on the field as the quarterback, as the guy he's looking to. I feel very, very strongly about Carson Beck. I think Miami is going to be high end at this position, and as good as they've been, the last 25 years, again, with the caveat that I don't think anybody's going to replace Cam Ward. He is the best quarterback I've ever seen in Miami, best player I've seen since Sean Taylor. I always have to remind people of that when I talk about Beck, because maybe it's a self-defeating, because I want people to stop comparing Beck to Ward. And every time I talk about Beck, I do this disclaimer. So maybe it's my fault.
You already did the Marino comparison. So,
but I mean, I think let's not compare Beck to Ward, because I just don't think it's productive. And even though I do it all the time. So again, I raise my hand. If you just take Beck at what he is, I think you're talking about a guy, first round player, if he can execute what he's capable of on the field. 6'4", great size. Everybody that sees Beck in person, and Pete, you've seen this, but just people who have not been out to practice, coaches, former players, boosters, whatever, when they go out to practice, one of the first things they're going to say is, wow, look at that dude. He is sturdy. He's
big.
He's big. Even Tom Yamas, the lead anchor on the NBC Nightly News, one of the biggest media stars in the country, he went out to practice and he told me, first thing, Beck is big. So that's something you kind of pick up quickly in camp. He moves around very, very well. His legs were never hurt, so his legs are fresh as a daisy. And then the arm, it works, and it's just as powerful as it was on tape when he was projected as the number 1 pick coming out of Georgia. From a passing standpoint, he's a real passer. He can drive the ball. He can layer the ball. He's not like a one-speed kind of passer. You think like a guy who we like, but Stephen Morris, didn't have necessarily all the pitches, right? Whereas Beck does have all the pitches. I think the thing that really, really stands out the more you watch Beck, and I now have watched him over the course of this entire camp, is the quick release. We had a very quick release with Cam Ward. Maybe not the different angles of Cam, but man, this guy's release is extremely quick. And when he is in rhythm, that ball is flying out. He's a pass-first quarterback. I know people talk about him like, all right, maybe he'll be managing the run game, kind of doing that whole thing, which he will be. He can run a smart, efficient offense. But this guy is a passer. I mean, he wants to pass. And when he gets in rhythm, he really lets that ball go. He does not hold it very long, and he gets it out there quick.
Yeah, and on top of that, this is something that you've mentioned and something that I have heard over the course of practice. Al Lewis, appreciate you. Thank you for your support.
Appreciate you, Al.
Something I heard a lot from yesterday was just how he spreads the ball around, man, and how many different receivers get involved in the offense. And look, that could be a nature of not having a premier number 1 target, but I think it goes to show you that that can keep the defense off balance in a big way, just because he's not locking into a guy. So yeah, I mean, look, I'm not saying that as a negative to the Ward and Restrepo thing last year, but because people said the same thing about Restrepo before that. But I'm just saying in general, I think it gives you more balance in terms of your options offensively.
No question, and it fits with kind of the personnel we have. We'll talk about it a little bit here in receiver, but I think Beck matches that. There are Dorsey similarities. I know it's the same number, whatever, same position, similar size. But I think the one big Dorsey similarity is just how much the ball gets spread out, like you said, and how quickly it does. Dorsey, we all remember the times when Dorsey dropped back and had forever in that pocket with Brian McKinney and Joaquin and all those guys. That's what we remember. But I think really when you talk about Dorsey, what stands out to me is sometimes he wouldn't even get to his back foot and the ball's out. I mean, he was really just the second he saw it, he was letting go. It didn't always look pretty mechanically. Beck is a lot more mechanically sound, just physically strong, but more talented overall by probably a significant amount, quite frankly. But that's similar that Beck, he really does get rid of it fast, and you don't know who it's going to. It's not a lock-on situation. He's throwing it to whoever's open, and that's obviously very good for the wide receiving group where if you get open, you're going to get the ball, and it doesn't matter where you stand on the depth chart necessarily.
Yeah, we aren't getting into tight ends today, but you know that he's going to have a good connection with that group as well.
Yeah, we'll get into those guys probably tomorrow, but yeah, he's going to throw to those guys, the running backs, who we will talk about here in a little bit. But overall, list of concerns of this team.
And by the way,
go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say also on Beck, outside of just like the throwing thing, the other question to me that has been, obviously it plays itself out over time, but in our being around and our talking to people, how's he going to fit in the locker room? What's his personality going to be like with the teammates? I know for a fact the defense and him have had a lot of back and forth, verbally and just competitively in practice, and that has been something I think that's raised the level of intensity in a lot of these practices. Offensively, guys have rallied around him, and he will. It's a different style than Cam, but there's more similarities there in terms of that on-field fiery nature than I think people might have said before he stepped on campus.
Yeah, I mean, I think intangible wise, fit with the team, everything is as good as you could hope, and it just seems like good vibes out there. Now, I will bring caveat, as we know, this is football. When you start, if you lose 2 in a row or just things are going wrong on the field, that's when bad teams, less tight teams, start the finger pointing a little more. So hopefully it doesn't come to that particular situation, but in general, where there's adversity, you really find out how tight everybody is. So I'm giving that caveat, but as of like right now, as we sit here on August 18th, I love the vibes around Beck, around the wide receivers, or just around the offense. I think everybody knows he's the man, and this is the benefit of having somebody that his name was known before he stepped foot on campus. People knew who he was. And I think that credibility goes a long way, where he doesn't really have to earn the respect of the team. I think once they saw that his arm worked, he was pretty much, hey, this is our quarterback, and we're going to have a chance to win every game we play.
So should we get into the rest of the room? Because obviously there's more than just Carson Beck.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Oh, by the way, Pedro Roman's saying, just added you guys on Instagram. Sorry it took me so long. Appreciate you, Pedro. Check out our Instagram, canes.insight on Insta. You know how to find it. At canes.insight. Sorry, not a big Instagram user. P handles that one and gets that thing rolling every day. Morning, everybody. All right, so the rest of the room. So Emory, I think the thing with Emory you see is he is really becoming a much better version of Emory Williams. People are going to have opinions on his play to this point that they've seen on the field. Obviously, there's been some good, some bad, some kind of training wheels, right, where we haven't seen him fully let go for whatever reason. Is that because he's not trusted to do more? Is that just because of the situation of the game? I mean, we'll see. But I think with Emory, you're seeing him become a much better version of Emory Williams. The 17 to the 8, very slim in number. We always talk about it because it's some of the first things people say when they get out there. It's funny.
And the glove.
But he looks more athletic. He looks leaner. He's been in this program for a while. So 3 summers of strength and conditioning, all that kind of stuff. He's only had Dawson as an offensive coordinator. So entering year 3 of Dawson's system. Very good connection between offensive coordinator and coach. Offensive coordinator and quarterback. I'm sorry. People really like that connection. Shannon Dawson really likes Emory. There's just like a nice fit there between those two individuals. And then, he's played, so his experience level as a backup is probably higher than many, just because he's started games, he's played in games. The last few snaps of the season, meaningful snaps were him right in the second half of that bowl game. So I think those are the things he brings to the table. The things he needs to prove is we haven't seen him just get in there and throw the ball a lot. I mean, when he gets in there, he's handing off, he's throwing a lot of screens, he's being protected. I think the ability to get out of the pocket, but just navigate the pocket, make sudden movements, avoid pressure, avoid the cluster and the traffic that comes with the quarterback position. That's really where I think the question is with him. But he looks more athletic. He's running more in camp. He's on an upward trajectory. How high that goes, we'll find out in the games. Hopefully not too early. Maybe hopefully in mop-up time, but we'll find out in the games.
Yeah, Kyle says Emory has more experience than both of the Notre Dame quarterbacks combined, which is an interesting way to look at it. But yeah, I agree with you on Emory. I think it's a tough conversation for a lot of fans to have because our last image of him was just really not good at all, and there's a lot of factors that went into it. People will say the play calling was not in his favor, but even when he had opportunities, he didn't look right. And I think what you're saying in terms of, yes, he's never going to be a guy who takes off and runs for a bunch of yards downfield, but just being a little more fleet-footed in the pocket, being a little bit more dynamic, and that's a strong word, right? Because I'm not saying he needs to be, again, Tom Brady in the pocket even, because Tom Brady was Like that was the footwork you see there is crazy, but just step up in the pocket when you feel a little pressure and be confident in making the throw. So I think just physically he's taken that step. When the lights come on, we'll see what happens. He hasn't had, it's tough when you're playing limited football. He played year one, gets hurt, and then doesn't see much live action really. So he's thrown out there in that game. Yeah, he knew he was going to play, so you would have hoped he was a little bit more ready for it. But you're not going to need, especially if it's in a one half, one quarter pinch situation. If he needs to come in, if that's what it is, right? You don't need him to do much. You just need him to do more than he did against Iowa State. And people got on me for, I was hyping him up a few weeks ago on here, saying it just in what I saw out of the 7-on-7 stuff, the ball was coming off his hand different. And then he talked about how he's changed his throwing motion. So it wasn't just me seeing things. I'm not saying this guy's the quarterback of the future, but can he do a job for you this year in certain spots? I don't know that it'll work against everyone. If you're in the playoff, I don't know if that's going to work, but I think he can be a bridge along the way this season.
Yeah, and I think there's confidence in him with the offensive coordinator. That's why he's back. Miami fought to bring him back. He could have gone somewhere else and competed for a starting job. Miami wanted to keep him. Shannon Dawson wanted to keep him. So I think these are guys.
EJ says Emory needs to pay me. I can't put it any more plainly than I just said it. I don't know if this guy is the one for the future, but anyone who's seen this guy in camp can tell you it just looks a little different coming off his hand than before. And that was one of our questions before is, man, does this guy even have the arm to fit it into certain spots, right? So to me, again, you're looking for a solid backup quarterback this year, D. Can he do that job for you? I feel like he can.
Yeah, I think any team in the country has a solid starting quarterback. I'm talking about Texas. I'm talking about Miami. I am talking about UF. I'm talking about South Carolina. I'm talking about Clemson. And say solid, I mean a good, like unquestioned starting quarterback. Indiana. All these teams, Oklahoma. When you lose your starting quarterback in that scenario, you're not feeling great. So we hope Carson Beck stays healthy. The question is, can Emory get you through a stretch and win games? I think he would need to play better than we saw against Iowa State, because that was a pretty dumbed down kind of offense, or at least, not a lot of easy throws, a lot of handoffs baked in there. And this still was not enough for what we needed against a defense that was not very good, that was getting completely, filleted in the first half. So we need better than that. He knows he needs better than that. Can he get better than that whilst within his skill set? I think he can. That's what I think we're hopefully seeing here is just more physical improvement. His biggest question, which I've always said since the beginning with him, is just, football is not a straight line, no resistance game. There's people around. You have to move a little bit. You have to adjust your angle a little bit. Sometimes you just have to be kind of loose and fluid with it, which I think Beck can do. Certainly what Ward excelled in that way. Emory has gotten more athletic. Now he needs to translate to the field, just making it easier, where Shannon Dawson, who we know likes him and wanted to bring him back, allows him to really expand and not just hand off and throw screens. Because if you get a series of games, God forbid you have to win 4 games in a row with Emory before Beck comes back. Again, Beck is perfectly healthy. I'm just trying, this is backup quarterback discussion. This is what you have to think about. We need Emory to throw more than he threw and better than he threw against Iowa State for that kind of stretch. He's getting closer to that point. Will he be there? We'll find out.
Green Tree All-American says Emory needs to practice live and the coach needs to let the defense hit him. He's a Green Tree All-American, 7-on-7. I wouldn't say he's lit it up either. So I don't think we're calling him there's levels to it. We're not calling him a Green Tree All-American either. I'm not. I mean, you can, D, if you want, but I'm not. No. I'm just, and I also just, Johnny Lagoon, man, Johnny's making some crazy statements this morning. He says he'll take Emory over Malik Rozier. Man, Malik could move the chains with his feet. Malik was a tough runner. I'm not saying Emory's not tough. If you had Malik as your backup this year, I'd feel a little bit better about it. But
yeah, Malik is a proven quarterback. He won you top 10 games. Yeah. So I wouldn't say that. maybe
With
down
not as
the
much
road, who
talent
knows?
as this year, but
But we'll have to see on that. Question about from Bill, which is an easy transition. How do you guys feel about Judd at this point? So Judd Anderson, let's just transition right to him. And by the way, just so you guys know, when we go through these positions, a lot of it's going to be kind of an order of experience, just because we don't want to just lay out the whole depth chart for our Notre Dame fans in the chat. But we'll go in order, generally in order of experience here as we go down and walk through where everybody stands. So
while
Judd,
being clear that we do think Emory is the backup, though.
Emory is the backup. Yep. So then Judd is next on the totem pole here as we go down experience-wise. Making progress. You heard Shannon Dawson talk about him. I still think consistency with him, because you'll see a throw and everybody will kind of look around and say, wow, who threw that? Oh, it was 15. And then you'll just see some placement issues. I think processing issues at times, but the talent is there as far as size. When it looks right, it looks very, very right. Still progressing. I don't know if he's done enough to pass Emory. Now, one thing about Judd, here's what I'll say about Judd is I think Judd, when he's in an actual game, like let's say he gets into mop-up time one of these games and really gets to play extended snaps, his running, I think, can translate to games. We haven't seen it as much on Green Tree. It's hard to really gauge running quarterbacks on Green Tree. That's very much a live tackling kind of deal. But with Judd, if you let's say Emory, for whatever reason, drops down the depth chart, gets hurt, whatever, and he's not able to back up Carson Beck, I think he is the backup. But let's just say you are in the position where Judd has to win you games. I would very much have a running kind of quarterback-based offense, kind of like what Josh Allen did as a rookie in the NFL. Obviously, Josh Allen's a different kind of athlete. This is at the NFL level. But just something where you're using his size and kind of, even though he's not known as a runner, like Josh Allen wasn't necessarily known as a runner, he really can run. He's fast and he has a lot of size. So I might, if you ever had to use Judd in games or whenever he ends up on the field in games, I might have him running maybe more than he did in high school, right? Where you're using that size and that ability. Because I think that's one thing you don't see in practice, that because of his size and athleticism, he actually could do it in games effectively.
Some wild words coming out of your mouth with the Josh Allen.
I'm just trying to.
As I look up at my TV and there's a Josh Allen commercial right now going on. I'm trying to process what you said there, D. I'm sorry.
But, I can't even explain to people I'm trying to visualize how you use the person. How you use the person does not mean that the player plays like Josh Allen. That's not what.
And I'm a Judd fan, D. I really am. I am. But yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah. Again, there's people hearing what they want to hear. I'm not saying he is Josh Allen. He is not Josh Allen. How about that? He is not Josh Allen. How about that one for the people in the
Judd
chat?
Allen, as Greatness 305Q says.
What I'm talking about is how do you use these players?
You got your Notre Dame boy Ant saying play style, not skill level. Listen, he's physically he's impressive, and when he takes off, he's moving. Which makes me think is there another position in his future?
Could be. And by the way, I don't even think he plays like Josh Allen. Josh Allen was much more of like a gunslinger. Even when he was raw, Josh Allen was much more of kind of like a gunslinger, like let it loose kind of down the field guy. Also, his arm was just quite a bit stronger.
EJ, man, all I said was that Emory could be a serviceable backup. Our boy over here is calling Judd a Josh Allen-esque. So
yeah, exactly. No, what I'm saying is that when you had Josh Allen as your quarterback for the Bills, he ran more than people thought he was going to do to get him through the games before he actually became what he became. So if you ever had to use Judd, I'm saying he would run more than maybe he's billed as a runner to get him into the games. He is not, I can say definitively, he is not Josh Allen. And I don't know if I wouldn't bet on him becoming Josh Allen, but again, I'm trying to just visualize how you would put him in a position to be successful is what I'm saying.
I get it.
Yeah, man. Okay, I can't win out here. Shout out to Judd. Where's Travis Thomas? That's the biggest Judd Anderson fan in the chat. He'd be the one defending me right now if he was on.
Yeah, he don't worry. We'll get a comment on him from him. Luke Nickel, who he's a lot of comments about him in the chat. True freshman, big recruit coming out. Got here in January, and we talked about it in the spring. I think playing with the third team sometimes wasn't the easiest for him. I think there was a lot of turnovers early on, but at the same time, you saw in the spring game, at the end of spring, they really turned it on, started to get some confidence, and was getting more reps, quite frankly, too, with Beck not out there, right? So I think between that and then now coming into fall camp here, like still probably a little bit behind Emory as we mentioned, but at the same time, someone for the future that I think we're going to be tracking a lot during the season here, scout team wise, because that's when you can really see the progress as he's getting extended reps against the first team pretty much.
So Michael Quinones asking, who has the largest upside between QB2s and QB4? Perfect transition to the guy we're talking about, right? I think Luke Nickel, to me, is the one that gets me the most excited out of all these backup quarterbacks. I just think the flashes with him. I think really the thing that, in my opinion, Luke has over Emory, over Judd, when you project them forward, is he's just more, to me, in my opinion, of an instinctive kind of natural playmaker. Like he sees it, he lets it rip. He has no hesitation. He can step up in the pocket, move around, throw. You saw some of that in the spring game. Those of you who were at the spring game, he can do that. The negative at this point, throws too many interceptions, still in an early stage of development. But in my opinion, when he's gets more experience in the system, when he's around better players, right, consistently higher in the depth chart players, I think he's going to really take steps. So if you're asking me of all these guys, who I think is the most talented, has the most chance to be a starter at this level, in my opinion, it would be Luke Nickel from what I've seen. But he does have to clean up the picks. He does have to just continue to hone in. True freshman, he's learning. But if he sticks with the process, sticks with the system, I think he has a chance to move up quickly. And then as he plays with better players, I think you'll see some of those kind of 50-50 plays get hit more often with better players.
Trey Moore asking if we see Luke getting garbage time snaps. So that's a tough one. I really don't know until the games play out, because I would think if Emory's number 2, you want to get him some live action when you can in case of emergency to keep his feet wet, especially considering everything we've said. And like, if you throw him out there and it doesn't look good, maybe Luke or one of these other guys fights up the depth chart. But all I'm saying is I think Emory would probably still be the first one out there.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I think Emory is a backup quarterback on this team, and you just hope he continues to improve and show what he's shown in camp. Certainly from a physical standpoint, there's been ups and downs, but I think he is clearly the backup quarterback. But back to Nickel, I'm very much of the belief that it's very hard to make someone who is a non-playmaker, a non-processor, someone who does not pull the trigger and teach them to pull the trigger. I think if you talk about Nickel, you do not have you have to calm him down and eliminate some of the just very low percentage throws, but you don't have to wake him up. And again, as he gets more comfortable in the system, he's a smart guy. He was very productive. He got a lot better in high school every single year, made a huge jump from junior to senior, which allowed him to rise in the rankings. But I think if he sticks with the program, stays patient, doesn't rush to, Georgia Southern to start or something like that, I think he has a chance to be a really good player. It's just going to be about developing. But I like Luke. I think Luke is going to be good. And thank you, Liquid Enigma. He says, I don't think D-Money's saying that these players are the comparisons. He's giving a style of play of said comparison. Thank you.
I get it. I try my best to try to find old Canes. Like I'll find I compared a receiver to, I think maybe it was Samori and Wingo, to like Rashawn Scott the other day.
Yeah.
Because I think it gives a little bit more like realistic expectations of what these guys could be. But I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, and honestly, with Judd and Allen, just to put again, because I'm going to miscode on that one, I don't think he even plays like Josh Allen, really. Like when he's playing quarterback, he doesn't play necessarily like Josh Allen. But what I remember when Josh Allen was a rookie, it was surprising how much he ran. Like he was not like, you didn't hear him advertised as like a run first quarterback out of Wyoming. And then basically his first year, he was like a run first quarterback, first couple of years. So what all I'm saying is if Judd were to come on the field, even though people would not characterize him as a run first quarterback, that's how I would use him, is as a run first quarterback while he develops his passing. But that would be down the depth chart here for the Miami Hurricanes, and I'm hoping that Carson Beck takes every meaningful snap in the year 2025.
The EJ, who seems like a Luke fan, says the only problem with Luke is he's going to be throwing behind 6'6" offensive lineman. I'll say, look, Luke is he's stocky. He's not very tall. And I mean, we saw him take off and run and be physical in high school, but would you say that, the fact that he's probably 6 foot and what's he listed at? I mean, I don't want to misquote it, but he's not the tallest and he's not super twitchy, I would say. Is that something you might be concerned about down the line?
I think he moves well. I think the height gets kind of distorted because he's standing next to guys that are giant quarterbacks all the time. Like he's always next to Judd, who's like legit almost 6'7". Beck is 6'4", 6'5". Emory is 6'4".
He's listed as 6'2", so maybe you're right. I think maybe they're giving him an inch or two there, but
he's like Cam Ward. As far obviously not the athletic ability of Cam or the talent.
I think Cam's probably taller than him, I would say.
Maybe. I wouldn't fight that, but not by much. I mean, they look pretty similar on the field, and they're both stout kind of guys. I just think Luke's size is gonna be fine because he's big, like strong. He's not light, so I think that I'm not worried about his size. I'm worried about really just him getting more experience and cutting some of the negative throws and just getting better. Antoine Styles says Wingo much faster. Just saw him Friday night. Yeah, Antoine, get your scouting report in the chat. We'll put it up there, man. I always like hearing. If you guys ever see our players live in the chat, let us know. I always love hearing from people who've actually seen these guys up close, especially senior year when they're getting better or worse or stagnating. Those are always good things to hear.
Good question. Enigma says Russell Wilson isn't that tall. There's only so many Russell Wilsons and Drew Brees, man.
Yeah, but he's over 6 foot. Luke.
Yeah, I think I would say he's 6.5, maybe.
Yeah, so we're getting there. So Hassan says, DMP, do you think Miami will go with the quarterback we have next year or go after a quarterback again? Again, remains to be seen.
Portal.
I think portal. I'm just a big portal believer. Get your growing pain somewhere else. Come here ready to rock and roll. And if Carson Beck has a great year, you are now basically either matching or replacing Lincoln Riley as the number one portal quarterback destination. So that's going to you've already been getting the best portal quarterbacks anyways. That's going to continue to keep you in that weight class where the portal quarterbacks that you're talking to are like the best guys in the class. Appreciate you, Miami Flow. Looking forward to our preseason show. Good morning. So yeah, by the way, real quick, we had a comment here. A very kind comment from Willie Little. He said, just checked out that Keontae Scott interview for Storm Sessions. Great interview. I think when it comes to interviewing players, you're one of, if not the best in South Florida. I appreciate that, Willie, and it's a great segue to plug this interview that I did with Keontae Scott for Storm Sessions. So check that out on the official Miami channel. There you go. Storm Sessions, episode 30. Wow, those flew by with Keontae Scott. A great dude. West Coast guy. Different kind of, you're so used to interviewing guys from the South. You think Auburn kid, he's going to be from the South, but he's a West Coast guy all the way. Really smart, good size, just good personality, good attitude. Very nice, fun interview with Keontae Scott. Really enjoyed talking to him, and I think he's going to be a big-time player. So check out Storm Sessions. That is on Miami's official YouTube channel, interview show I do. Again, 30 episodes deep. So we've gone from Cam Ward to the Cavenders to, whoever else, Wesley the Saints we just did. A lot of football players, basketball, baseball, you name it. It's been a lot of fun. So check out Storm Sessions on the Miami Hurricanes official YouTube.
D, not to get too much into the portal conversation with QBs. We do it a lot here. We'll get to running backs in a second. But EJ says, proven guys out of the portal, top dollar who can cost against the cap. What do you think the big recruits are?
Yeah,
exactly. And you don't know what you're getting.
Exactly. The top recruits cost a lot of money. You don't know what you're getting. And by the way, in the NFL, who do you think costs the most in the NFL? You think the Chiefs? Pat Mahomes costs a lot against the Chiefs cap. They still do pretty good. I know it's ideal to have like a rookie scale quarterback and then a loaded roster, but I don't think the Buffalo Bills, the Baltimore Ravens, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Kansas City Chiefs, those kind of guys are complaining about their quarterbacks. And I think when you have access to the top of the portal market, you're getting that kind of player. I think Beck is one of at least the top 10 quarterbacks in the country, which is already, there's almost 130 teams. So you're talking about top 10 quarterback, conservative, potentially top 5, potentially top 1. Last year you had number 1. So I'm just a big portal guy. And here's what I'll say. Last thing on the portal, I've made this rant a million times. And I asked the chat, tell me if anyone's missing off this list. If I were to say top 5 quarterbacks, actually, let's say top 5 quarterbacks, okay, of Miami since Dorsey. So post Dorsey. I would say number 1, obviously, is going to be Cam Ward. Number 2 is going to be just the guys we've had, De'Aaron King. Number 3, I would say Brock Berlin. Carson Beck, I think, will fit into this list when you look at where he gets drafted at the end of the day and based on what he's done to this point in college. And then Brad Kaya, who was a high school player. If Beck performs to that level, which I think he will, based on what he's already done in a harder division, 4 out of those 5 guys are portal guys, including by far the best one, which is Cam Ward. So portal's been good to Miami. I think it's going to continue to be good here with Carson Beck. And I think we're going to be, as Lord Baconton said, quarterback you when Beck goes top 5. I love it. I'm with it. Lincoln Riley move over. Quarterback you is back.